Welcome, everybody. This is Deacon Tim Wyman, and we're zooming in today from various locations. And I want to welcome everybody to the Parish Coffee Hour with Father Paul and friends. And with that, I want to just bring Father Paul right in and get us started this morning and introduce our guest and get us going. Morning, Father Paul. How you doing?
Good, good, Deacon Tim. I've got my fall flannels out, so we're a little bit changing. And with us today is Bobby Silver, who's the Director of Development for the Diocese of Lexington. So we're real glad you're with us today, Bobby. And I'll get us started with a prayer, offer a little bit of a news clip, and then we'll enter into the program as such. And glad you're out there, those who are watching with us, and just kind of praying along with us as we keep moving through this pandemic and as we keep doing our ministry in the best ways we can and in some creative ways. Lord, we ask you to guide us on this day. Help us to live in the spirit of Therese, the little flower. Help us to be centered on you and your life and your love. Help us to open ourselves to be people of prayer who grow deeper and deeper in our prayer, even as we allow you to shape our lives, to just work with us as we might be clay and in your hands as the divine potter. Bless us as we talk today, as we reflect on who we are as a diocese, particularly, and how we here at Christ the King and in Lexington can be of service to the people who are part of the church throughout our diocese and beyond. So we pray to you as we offer this day as one more way of praising you. We pray through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Many of you who receive our parish emails noticed this morning that we've had a transition. Meg Campos has been offered the position and has accepted it to serve on an interim basis as the Director of Catholic Charities, and her position as Director of our own social outreach he's put it in a great spot, and it's going to be a wonderful introduction to the life of the parish and the life of ministry in Lexington for Father David, who's coming tomorrow to serve in that position on an interim basis. And, we trust he'll be able to serve us well and grow with all the variety of folks who are part of that ministry. So thanks to all who are involved in our many different outreach ministries, as we all are grateful for the guidance that Meg has offered. We wish her well. We pray with her as she enters into some new and perhaps a little scary territory, but we trust that she's capable of doing a great job in that position. Brother Mark had his last load of stuff in his car this morning, and as we're speaking, he's working his way east towards Jenkins, and I'm pretty sure Father David's in the midst of doing his last wave of packing, and he'll be joining us tomorrow. For those of you who know and love Father Ray, he's in the recuperative stage. He's out of the quarantine kind of situation that with an abundance of caution that they do at Taylor Manor. So he's got a way to go, but he's taken some steps forward. So please keep him in your prayers. So again, we're glad you're with us today, Bobby, and we want to talk about the ministry. I think it's always a good thing for people in parishes to see the faces behind the ministries that happen from the diocesan standpoint. Too often we in parishes speak of what they're doing down there at that darn diocese, and it's important for us to know that we're all in this together. So glad you're with us, and we'll enter into your story a little bit, in addition to your ministry and how we can all work together. So how'd you get to your position of being Director of Development at the Diocesan Chancery, Bobby?
Thank you for inviting me to join you all today. This is a wonderful way to get started, but essentially it was, as usually with all things, it was unexpected. I have been in this position since April of 2019, so just about half, but just prior to that, I have a long history, a career in fundraising, working for nonprofits and higher education, and just really have been called to, my whole life felt like I was called to give back to other people the blessings that I have received and help in whatever way I could. But most importantly, really just love hearing people's stories of how things have impacted them, organizations have impacted them, and how that motivates them to also donate and give back. But in this, how I came to this job, I had unexpectedly, surprisingly, had lost my previous job due to a reorganization. And when you lose your job, as a lot of people are experiencing right now, it just sends you into this tailspin of emotions, and you just really doubt who you are, and you really examine what things should be your priorities. I had been going to church, but just not as regularly as I probably should have. Um, but just kind of in a moment of just, sort of throwing my hands up and saying, I need to give this to God. I started going back to church regularly, and I live in Georgetown, and so my parish is Saints Francis and John, and my pastor is Father Lynn, and he noticed me. He noticed that I was new, and he engaged me in conversation. And every day when I would leave Mass, he would say, "I'm praying for you. You will find a job." Um, and it just really brought me back to my faith in a time that I needed it the most. And it's, when you're in something like that, when you're knee deep in all of that and all the emotions that come with it, you don't recognize the blessing that it is necessarily until after you get through it sometimes. And so even though it was a really hard time, I'm really grateful for it. And then this position came up. A friend called me and said, "Hey, this job is open. I think you'd be really good for it." I had never done any sort of religious fundraising. I was really nervous about it. But I can tell you, the people that I work with have been just wonderful. So I've really enjoyed it. It is super different. Religious fundraising is much different than other places, but a lot of the same too. But it's been just a great opportunity to develop my faith, to get closer to my faith, and be more consistent in how I practice it.
Wow. Well, Bobby, like a lot of priests, I did some spiritual reading, and as we were getting ready for the meeting, I was reading a little bit in this book by Gerald May, who's a psychologist, who's a deeply spiritual person, entitled "The Dark Night of the Soul," and kind of saying, in our dark nights, lo and behold, it seemed like we're abandoned, but we're not, and maybe we open ourselves most to the way God's grace is working within us. All of us know, I think, that church work puts us in touch with the Lord, puts us in touch with God's people, and and again, it's not the same as like a romantic cakewalk, but that we all have bad days, and we all are touched by original sin, in addition to being dedicated people, and so there's, of course, wild and crazy stuff that happens, but also if we keep our eyes open, our ears open, and our hearts open, this ministry stuff is really, really wonderful for us as we live our lives and as we have the opportunity to grow and get closer to the Lord. So what would you say are your responsibilities in this position as Director of Development for our diocese?
Yeah, so a big part of it is I run the annual appeal for the diocese, but there's a lot of other pieces in building a development shop for us. We've been, of course, in existence for a long time through other dioceses, but our own for 30 years, and we've never had a director of development. And so just forming the department and initiating best practices, making sure that we're stewarding and thanking our donors appropriately, connecting with our donors, really connecting with our pastors and parishes and staff, guiding and supporting their fundraising efforts. I don't do them for them, but do a lot of talking and guiding through, especially when there's a question or anything I can help with. I also work with the program that we call it's the Mission Network program, where we identify speakers inside our diocese, where we send them out throughout the country to speak about who we are, why we're a mission diocese, And we ask parishes in those communities to support us, because we, given our region, we just don't raise enough money internally, and we rely on that external support to provide for our parishes, especially in Eastern Kentucky. I work with our communications department very closely in helping them identify stories that they could possibly highlight in the Crossroads magazines. I have the great fortune of authoring some of those pieces, particularly this special edition in October. I get to highlight stories, and that's my favorite way of connecting with people's hearts. It's not enough to say we need the money. It's really important to share how funds are impacting people and places, and how we are serving as the light of Christ in these communities that are having such significant challenges. So I do a lot of that. There's other stuff. I won't give you the whole laundry list of things, but I do work with I Give Catholic. I run that effort as well, and a lot of other campaigns.
Again, for our listeners, I think your position is parallel to Katie Shepard's position here. Now, again, there's, I'm sure, going to be different bullets on each of your job descriptions, but it's pretty much the same kind of thing. And I always say to Katie and about Katie, if there's something around here that needs to be advanced, you as director of advancement, thank you for helping it move along. And probably the same from your standpoint. If there's anything in the Diocese of Lexington that needs to be developed, it's good for you to have your hand in that and help things along. And again, it's the main thing there of the financial support, but the financial support comes from the soul support. So Lexington is a mission diocese. We say that over and over again. Of course, here I am talking from my fairly comfortable rectory and in the flesh pots of Chevy Chase. So why would you say Lexington is called a mission diocese?
Well, 40 of our 50 counties reside in Appalachia. A handful of those counties are listed as the poorest of the poor in the United States. One of our counties still does not have potable water. These counties, historically in Eastern Kentucky had flourished due to the coal industry. And that's really how a lot of the parishes kind of popped up in those areas, is that the people from Europe were recruited to work in the coal mines, and the coal companies wanted to keep those employees here. So they would build a church in these far-flung areas, and then they would contact the bishop of Covington at the time and say, you need to send a priest. We've built the church, and we need the church blessed, and we need a priest. And so that's really how, for a lot of those places, that existence began. And right now, as those demographics have changed, as the industry has changed, we recognize that the area has this great history of connectedness and love, but also there's a lot of struggles that are there, whether it's addiction or unemployment and those sort of things. Excuse me. And just being able to still be present in those areas, to offer a helping hand, to offer the sacraments. We don't require people to go through services or education if they show up at our door asking for help. We do it, and in some, there are some churches that do that there, but we don't. We have created this, I wouldn't say expectation, but we've just created kind of this feeling in Eastern Kentucky that if you want help, go to the Catholic Church, because they will help you. We will provide emergency assistance. We will provide food. We will pray with you. And we don't do it because the people that show up at the door are Catholic, because many of them are not. 1% of the population in Eastern Kentucky are Catholic. We do it because we are Catholic, and that's who we're called to be, and that we are supposed to love each other. And so by providing these opportunities to these really poor areas, that's what makes us a mission diocese. There's not a lot of funding. We have wonderful donors who support many of our efforts throughout the diocese, but given that much of our area is a poor area, we need that outside help, and that's what makes us a mission diocese, is that we carry our work and what we do to others and ask their support.
What was the financial goal last year for the diocesan appeal?
So the goal was about $1.2 million, and we raised $1,050,000. And our annual appeal runs from, we've shifted it a couple of years ago. I'm sure people will remember it used to fall sort of in the Lent time frame, and now it starts in the fall. So it runs from September until the following August. And so this past year, the pandemic hit right in the midst of it. But even with that, we still raised well over $1 million to support parishes and ministries and programs that needed to still exist and be that light during this time.
What's the goal this year?
So the goal this year is $1,120,100, to be exact.
Well, last year, how did Christ the King do last year?
So Christ the King's goal was $215,000 last year and raised a little over $178,000. And then this year's goal is $200,000.
Okay. Yeah. So we're, I think we comprise something like 17% of the Catholics of the diocese as membership here at Christ the King. And so that number is comparable, I think. Again, I'm not, I got an adding machine at my left, but I'm not going to fool around with it and do the calculations. But it's roughly that same percentage, I guess, of the goal is ours to make, ours to try to challenge ourselves to get to in this with this appeal this year. Now, there's beneficiaries of it on multiple levels, aren't there? With the diocesan appeal, can you speak to that?
Yes, of course. As I said before, the funds provide for programs, parishes, and ministries, but more specifically, for example, we're giving funds to establish youth programming at St. George and Jenkins, where Father Mark is going. They have traditionally held a summer camp there that has been a respite for kids, especially when they come from families of addiction and other challenges. And this past year, they weren't able to hold that camp, which was really hard for all involved. So they want to establish Bible study and some other youth programming to help bring more kids to the church throughout the year. Young adult formation, especially in our colleges, funding is provided.
Whoops.
It's like we've lost Bobby here.
We're frozen here.
Yep. So hopefully I don't know if you have a text. Do you have her number on text? We might have to reach out just to let her know. I don't know if she's aware if she's dropped out. So hang in there, everybody. Hopefully we'll get Bobby back here in a minute or in a couple minutes. She'll figure out she may have to rejoin the Zoom session.
Just as we're waiting, what I know about the appeal is it provides support for our retired priests. It provides support for our seminarians. Provides support for people who are in ministry formation in a variety of ways. Provides support for our schools. Honestly, it provides salaries for some of our parish leaders whose parish cannot afford cannot afford them.
Yep.
So it's that kind of a thing. Probably provides support for Zoom systems that are limited. So Bobby's back.
That's right.
Yes, no, we all experiencing these challenges, right, where we get kicked off randomly. So I'm not sure where I froze.
The patron saint of this time is Gilda Radner.
Yes.
As Rosanna Dan would say, it's always something. So don't worry.
Yes.
Well, I was given my impression of some of the aspects, where monies from the diocesan appeal support seminarians, support retired priests, honestly, they support parish pastors and pastoral life directors.
Okay. Deacon Tim, I think we lost Father Paul. Can you see me and hear me? Oh,
I had to step out. I'm back, and Father Paul seems to have gotten dropped now. Boy, we're just having a good technical day here. So
that's right. Well, I'm happy to continue a little bit with what he was talking about.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so it does support seminary education. The annual appeal, it supports youth and young adult formation. Probably one of the greatest things that it allows is it pays for priest salaries and parish life director salaries in those little parishes in Eastern Kentucky that who are this wonderful presence, but they just don't have enough people that give to the enough people in their parishes that can cover the offertory support for those things. And so we supplement that.
Well, and I think, one of the things that you said earlier really struck me, and it just, with the way that I thought about it was, the way we continue to be the Catholic Church in Eastern Kentucky has to be through these outside sources, because although the people down there are wonderful and they're the hands-on people and for the most part, but there's just not enough of them for all the reasons you said earlier. Unemployment, the coal industry has collapsed, and so they're really. But if we're going to maintain a Catholic presence out there, it's only going to happen with everybody's helping with the diocesan annual appeal, and being it's the way we can continue to minister to people. And Father Paul alluded, here in Lexington, we may not be touched directly with those needs, but if we really want to support our brothers and sisters out in Appalachia and in the counties east and south of us, it has to be through outside help, and I think that's the diocesan annual appeal. It lets us continue to be Catholic in Eastern Kentucky, and without it's just not going to happen, or it's going to happen in a very reduced, minimalistic way. And so, yeah. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that is very true. The theme of our annual appeal is one in Christ, because that's who we're called to be, is to join together at the table and love one another, support each other, and especially during this time, the diocesan annual appeal, all of it goes to those, is given out to the parishes, the ministries, the programs. The only part of it that is used for any sort of fee is just to cover the expenses of our mailing and putting our video together. And we work very hard to keep those costs down. We evaluate that every year, but also want to make sure that we're sharing stories with people so that they understand how important their support is, and any amount is appreciated and is critical, because together we're building the kingdom, and it's just a wonderful way for us to join together, and support places that
Right.
we may not visit or know about, or maybe just hear in the news, but
Yeah.
they're our brothers and sisters.
That's right. So have you got? I mean, that's a great segue. You know, if you got a couple stories you can share about what have you learned, I guess, about in Eastern Kentucky the ministry to Hispanic community, which obviously is growing rapidly, and in other ministries to international immigrants. Where do those communities fit in at this point? How do we minister to them?
Absolutely. So we have these wonderful communities, that are involved in our parishes. We have a Congolese community that, as they have resettled to this area, have become more involved and engaged, and are wanting to deepen their faith. The Hispanic community is growing, in our area, and the unofficial data is that there's 40 to 50,000 Hispanic members, throughout our diocese, and we want to serve those people, and invite them to join us too. And so there's efforts underway that the annual appeal supports to help with formation and pastoral formation, so that they can deepen their faith, help answer questions, and lead their own communities, as well. What we have realized, is what many communities are realizing. It's not just enough for us to translate information to them. We want to be embedded in their communities, and they in ours. We're called to, again, I know I keep saying this, but this really is the central theme of who we are, right? Is that we're called to be together and to join and to break down those barriers. And many of our Eastern Kentucky parishes, there's communities from other countries, Filipino communities who come and serve in healthcare, and want to be ministered to, and are really faithful. So we honor that, and I just think it's remarkable. Um, Hi,
Bring
Bob.
text back in.
All right.
One really great way, one development, I would say, that is happening in Lexington is with the building of the St. Juan Diego Center that Deacon Jim Bennett and his wife Dot have created, that we anticipate helping with funding in the future from the annual appeal. And it's just going to be this wonderful way for people to gather, for the Hispanic community to gather, and receive services for free that they may not have taken advantage of in other places. And it's positioned right in that community. And it's just a wonderful example of seeing what the need is and responding.
Yeah, you can see that driving on Versailles Road. Just glancing to the right on Alexandria Drive. It's about a block down the road. Well, I'm not sure what I missed.
We were just talking about the different the ministry to the Hispanics and other immigrants. So that's kind of the question that Bobby was addressing when you jumped back in. So
Great. Well, when you first started the position, Bobby, did you have much experience around Eastern Kentucky and or with Hispanic ministry?
I did not have much experience with Hispanic ministry, but I had a good deal of experience in visiting Eastern Kentucky. I had, in working at one of my previous workplaces, I traveled to that area and worked in a scholarship program that benefited first generation college students from that area. I am a first generation college graduate myself, so deeply passionate about that. And just really was awed, in awe of just the communities, how connected they are, how much they take care of each other. Even in the face of all these challenges, the love of the land, the love for each other is just, it's palpable. And I think, any way that we can walk alongside people in their journey is is where we need to show up. It's not a matter of giving a handout, because people don't want that, but if I can walk alongside, if you can walk alongside people, and guide and help, I think is where we're called to be.
I'd like you to think a little bit about the unique aspect of the church, in terms of not only what we do in the way of social service, but what have you noticed in terms of, say, the spiritual riches that the Catholic Church provides to folks in an area where where Catholicism is certainly such a minority?
For a long time, the leaders in those parishes in Eastern Kentucky would tell you that it was a negative to be Catholic, and having to work through that and do some education about who we are. I think the gathering around the Eucharist is the crucial part of who we are, right? We yearn for that body. We yearn to be closer to Christ. And then, practicing our faith. And then, as Bishop John has said so eloquently before, is, how do we then be the church outside of the church? And during this time of the pandemic, it's been challenging, right? I mean, we're not able to gather closely in the ways that we have in the past. Personal interaction is challenging. We've increased the amount of people who can come to Mass, but there are still people who are uncomfortable in coming back. And we've been really inventive in ministering to people, which I think has been really wonderful in Eastern Kentucky. So I've heard these great stories of, maybe people can't come and celebrate Mass and be together, but there's a lot of porch sitting that's going on. So I was just talking to Father Rob Adams, who is the pastor in Pikeville and also Jenkins. And he was sharing how he goes to porches and they sit distance apart, but he prays with people and figures out, how can we help? Do you need any sort of emergency assistance, repairs that we can do outside, or, what are some things some ways that we can minister to people during this time? I think one of the wonderful silver linings of all this has been the use of live streaming programs, streaming Mass, social media. The church hasn't always been on the forefront of technology, and we've been notoriously slow to move in that direction. But finding those ways that people want to be ministered to, these are just additional resources to us. And in Eastern Kentucky, that's been very helpful too. It's just been a wonderful way to have a positive influence in people. We hear so much of the negativity of social media and all that stuff, but it's been such a great opportunity for us to be the light, and when people need it most. And so I think in Eastern Kentucky, and just with our faith, taking our faith and then putting it into practice, that we are the church. We're the church of today. And that, practicing our faith and helping to educate others about that, but also being this welcoming presence in the community of, how we can help, is just a wonderful example of who we are.
When I'm on the road, doing one of the mission appeals, I very often speak of it's the typical guy and it's the everyman, it isn't necessarily Bob Smith that I know and have drank a beer with or something like that. But there's the fellow the man who comes with his family, who's in management, say at a Walmart or something like that, and he comes to Eastern Kentucky from another part of the country, and he has no idea what the church will be like. And lo and behold, he finds a church that's Roman Catholic, but also it needs him. And so many people are very involved in the life of the parish like they've never been before when they wind up in Eastern Kentucky. And we certainly draw a good percentage of converts to Catholicism. A lot of our Eastern Kentucky folks are converts, and our approach to Scripture is pretty balanced, rather than sort of a it's not every situation, but there's a lot of churches that are very fundamental, and we've got a good balanced approach, and the sense of community and community outreach is important. It's so there's a lot that pulls us together, and really is a blessing for the community. Of course, this year we're not able to go out and do the mission appeals, or very few are going out. What do we usually generate from that, and that's sort of missing?
Sure. So usually we generate around $80,000 to $100,000 a year by sending missionaries from within our diocese to dioceses and parishes throughout the United States to talk about who we are, and how we could use support, and how that helps, particularly in Eastern Kentucky. And so we haven't been able to do that this year, with all the shutdowns and concerns with COVID. Some parishes have generously sent a small amount in support, because they believe in the mission of what we're doing. And then conversely, we also invite organizations to come in and speak in our diocese. And they have been impacted by not being able to be present due to concerns over the COVID. And so it's been difficult on both sides. And we're really hopeful that we can, that will open back up next summer, so that we can talk a little bit and share, but the unique thing about this is that it's not just, it's not affecting a targeted area, it's affecting us all at the same time. And so I think everyone has just been very nimble, very kind of how we navigate this. And we're prayerful that we can make those funds up through the annual appeal.
I know when I go around the country, and I do maybe one or two of these every summer, to do a mission appeal in another parish. Very often I'm in the inner city, or in a parish that looks like it needs help as much as I would think that Appalachia needs help. I know what I kind of say, and what I believe in terms of saying we're still unique. So how would you say the ministry is different, say, for the for the people who are served by the diocesan appeal in Lexington, as opposed to the people served in the say in the inner city of say Baltimore, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, I just, when we visit other places and talk about who we are, it is first from a position of strength. We love one another. We are called to serve each other, and that we're not just giving a handout. We are walking alongside other people who need help, and I think that's first and foremost. But educating about the plight of our area, and it's multifold. I don't want to just highlight Eastern Kentucky as the only thing that needs help in our area. It's definitely a huge source of need for us, in the ways that we need to provide salaries and support for the operations of those parishes, so that they continue to be a presence.
Yeah, like right now, Catholic Charities is doing an awful lot, with people of Lexington, and well, all over the diocese, but certainly the people of Lexington who are, in trouble financially, and need help with rent and things like that, and the monies for Catholic Charities also comes from the diocesan appeal, right?
Absolutely. So almost a third of the funding that is raised for the annual appeal goes to Catholic Charities for operations, to provide emergency assistance. And that is given throughout Lexington for whoever calls upon us. And then additionally, we have immigrant communities that are supported through the annual appeal, and that's throughout our diocese. And I've mentioned a couple of areas that we support through the annual appeal, but also, the young adult programming for college students. We provide funding for those programs in Lexington and Richmond. So a huge amount of the support goes towards Eastern Kentucky, but we're also working to support a vast area throughout the diocese in all the areas of need that we can.
Great. Well, Bobby, I know with the folks at the diocese, you've developed a great video that kind of tells the story. People have been able to pull it up, I think, on email. It's sort of a YouTube kind of thing. But Deacon Tim, we got the capacity to play it one more time, and then we'll talk a little bit more after that.
Yes, we do. You ready?
I think this is a good time. Does that
Okay.
sound okay with you, Bobby?
Yep. All right, here we go. Just give me 1 second. We'll get it up and started. Can you see that, Father Paul? Has it changed on your screen yet?
Well, it's blank right now.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go.
Yep, you got it. I'll mute.
Being Catholic means seeing God at work everywhere.
To be Catholic is to be part of a universal church. And so everything that we do is based on our belief that we are all made in the image and likeness of God.
Being a Catholic is walking into a dumpy church in the middle of nowhere at the end of the road and knowing that the man at the altar was ordained by a man who was ordained by a man all the way back to Jesus Christ, that you have a physical connection to God.
The church is literally on the mountainside. You can really feel that this sense of place matters, and the people are so hospitable and welcoming.
We have this connection with a real saint, particularly Mother Teresa. And when she came to Jenkins, she saw that this was one of the places that was the poorest of the poor in the United States. Mother used to kind of come quietly when she would visit the US, and she would teach Sunday school here to some of the kids in the morning.
So we have a piece of art here called Our Lady of the Mines, and it is a depiction of Mary with a small child, Jesus, and it's meant to be a protection for all of those who are connected to the coal industry.
We are here to preach to the poorest of the poor and to be Christ to them. And it's good to know that a saint agrees that this is where we need to be.
So the Catholic Diocese of Lexington is made up of 50 counties of eastern and central Kentucky. What is unique about us is we have an interesting blend of the bluegrass with its long horse and distillery tradition, basketball tradition, and then we've got eastern Kentucky with its own rich culture, but also its long experience of poverty and alienation, and trying to bring those together into one church. And you add to that mix our immigrant and refugee population, it's an interesting mixture called to be Catholic. That is, we're all supposed to be around the same table. We're all supposed to be sharing.
Ashland is the northeasternmost point in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The current structure was rebuilt after a devastating fire. The only thing that survives from the previous church is the charred crucifix. And it says, "You are my feet, you are my hands." There are no hands on that crucifix. There are no feet on that crucifix. A powerful reminder of this community rising from the ashes.
The word church means not just a building, it means the people that gather in that building. When you drive past a church or walk past a church, you think of God for that moment. But we're only fulfilling our mission if they walk past you and think of God. And when we're generous, when we're serving others, that's when we are most the church.
The Catholic Church here is known for its generosity. This is truly kind of a mission parish. It covers over 1,000 square miles of parish boundaries. What we're doing here in the mountains is what we're doing in Lexington. And it's working with people both through charitable acts and through our liturgies and the sacraments to really help unite people. And so by supporting the annual appeal, it helps not only your parish, but it helps all of the parishes flourish.
And so when people come in because they're seeking help in a material way, they really find out that their real needs are deeper than that. Their spiritual needs. They need to be listened to. They need to be prayed with. They need to be offered possibilities for hope. Charity is a word for love in the scriptures, and so any charity that we offer is an expression of love, that we're called to be brothers and sisters.
Our parishes are seeing the gaps and doing everything they can with the help of God and with the help of generous Catholics from across the diocese to fill those needs and be the hands, the feet, the body of Jesus Christ.
So our primary function, of course, is liturgical. It's leading people in worship to worship the presence of God. But from our worship, we want to put that into practice. And so we have a variety of services, from training our young kids and passing on the faith, adult education programs. We have outreach programs in all of our Eastern Kentucky parishes that try to make an impact in the community where they're located.
The Catholic Church has always been kind of on the forefront of social justice issues, and Jenkins is a particularly interesting place because of where we shared the same side of segregation. So it was Catholics and black children were the only ones allowed to play with each other.
As a church, we're called to be there for the immigrant, for the poor, for the sick. This is sort of in the original charter that Jesus gave us, if you will. And our Hispanic population has faced a number of challenges.
My husband and I started volunteering in this program. The Hispanic community is lacking so many areas in their faith.
I come from an atheist background, so I've been able to grow little by little. I want to go more in depth, and these courses are the best way to do it.
We always wanted to help the community and give back from all the good things that we have received. And I feel like if we all do something, we can also have a better community, a better society.
What we have in Eastern Kentucky and in the Diocese of Lexington is a sort of beautiful tapestry of different cultures, different population groups who have different needs, really, and who bring different voices to the table.
So your gift to the annual appeal for the Catholic Diocese of Lexington might be providing a meal for an elderly person down in Harlan County. It might be providing catechesis for kids who come from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Your contribution might be supporting a future priest in his training to serve the people of God. It might be supporting our retired priests who have served for so long. It might be helping somebody to bridge the gap when they can't make their rent payment after being out of work because of the pandemic. So there's lots of ways that your contributions help build up the local church, and all of it's important.
In supporting the diocese, you are helping one of the underserved populations of our nation.
And just to realize that even like your widow's mite, your 2 pennies, that generosity really does matter.
Our resources come from you. You are the church, and what we're able to do depends on what you're able to give. I'm just impressed with what our small communities are able to do with very little resources, but having an impact much larger than themselves. You should be proud of what we're able to do because you make it happen.
From the head of the hollers in Eastern Kentucky to the sidewalks and pavement of Lexington, from the Mountain Parkway all the way down to I-75, we are a diverse diocese. We can share that diversity as an example of a diverse, active, faithful local church.
Thank you for your donation to the annual appeal.
Thank you so much for your generosity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por toda su ayuda.
Thank you for helping us build up the body of Christ.
Well, Bobby, what was it like to help develop that video?
It was really incredible. I'm always moved whenever I visit our parishes. I feel like I learn more. It was a little different this time with all of the social distancing, and we filmed this in June and July. But I worked with a gentleman named Jason Palmer, who is an incredible videographer, and just really, he also, through his work in lots of other projects, has a great love of Eastern Kentucky, and was able to just show just the magnificent beauty, obviously, and the wonderful ways in which we're called to be church there and beyond. So it was really lovely. The lag that you're seeing, I would just say, is probably just due to the Zoom. I would encourage you to find it and as a viewer and go back and watch it again. I just really love that it shows who we are.
Now, our parish is really, it's kind of typical. We probably do about 30% of our congregation members contribute to the diocesan appeal. And I'm sure that's not from a negative or hard-hearted standpoint, but just, we tend to think of ourselves and our family, our own parish. Now, what do you think would be the key questions that a family or a group of friends should ask concerning their possibility of supporting the diocesan appeal?
Some of the questions I hear is that someone may be considering is how does my gift, whether it is a small amount or a large amount, how does it make a difference? And it's the compilation of it together that really helps. And so, a misnomer is, if I can't give, fill in the blank, $100 or $1,000, then it really doesn't matter. But it all does. It's all critical, and it all helps to build up the church. And while I know it would be a struggle to certainly get to 100% participation from everyone, that is our goal. Because if everyone even gave a little amount together, that would make such a huge impact. Another question that I receive is, about the expenses and how much of the money actually goes out to the locations. And I did talk about that a little bit before. The only costs that are covered are the minimal amounts for the mailing that we send and for the video and a few other things. It does not pay for salaries and that kind of stuff, because those funds are salaries for the development office that comes from other areas. And we're very conscious about examining those expenses every year so that they're minimal. And so the majority of the funding is going out to these programs, the ministries, the parishes, to support this great work.
Yeah, the pie, there's like a pie that has the variety of pieces of the pie of the different aspects of what's supported. Really tells that story, and I'm not sure if that's available right now, but it's easy enough to find in some of the literature that's out there. Are you pulling it up?
It's in my bag. I'm just about here. I can pull it up here in just a second. But every household that is registered did receive a mailing, and it's on the back side of the.
Yeah, that's in the mailing that you sent out, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it's on the back side of the letter. I've got it. And it looks like this. Yeah. And then at the bottom, it just shows how we spent the money for the past year. 30% went to parish support, 9% went to youth and young adult ministry. That's Catholic school tuition assistance, youth programs, campus ministry. Community outreach, 27%, and that's food pantries, emergency assistance, and some other things. Priest and seminarian support, that's 29%. That's education, pre-salaries in those parishes that need that help. And then just 5% of it goes to diocesan programs, and that's really intentional, because we want as much of the money to go out as possible, and there's just a lot of really great work that is happening because of your support.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bobby. It's been great to be with you. Deacon Tim, has anything come in, or do you have any questions yourself as we're sort of wrapping up?
No, I'm looking here. I don't see any questions coming in, and I think you both covered the ground really well. So I think it's just a matter of it's been great to hear again, once again, emphasize that if we're going to maintain our Catholic presence in Eastern Kentucky and really for the vast majority of our diocese, we just need people to pitch in and pull in, and because most of us can't just walk, go over and actually put our hands on it. So the next best thing is to give out of our treasure to and of our blessing back to the people who can do that, who can actually be out there and minister to people if we can give them the resources to do it. So it's maintaining our Catholic presence in Eastern Kentucky is what this is all about.
It's quite a history. I think we're doing a lot with this being the 75th anniversary of the founding of our parish. And gosh, at that time, there were 3 parishes in Harlan County, and there still are. And at that time, I think we were the 3rd parish in Fayette County, so there's that connection, I guess, that really speaks of the development of the church in those coal counties as you spoke of. I know I served in Moorhead for 7 years or so, and 7.5 years, in fact. And at every graduation, the president of the university would ask the students who were the first members of their family to graduate from college to stand up, and 1/3 of the group would stand up. These are the folks we're ministering to, and we're helping to get hope. We're helping them to have a vision. We're helping them to know that they're loved by God. We're helping them to know that we're all brothers and sisters. And even as we help, we ourselves are being helped by the great spirit of so many people that we walk with. So again, Bobby, thank you so much for your ministry. Thanks for your zeal and your joy as you're getting deeper and deeper into this. And we're glad you're with us. So folks, we'll be doing the program again next week. And the guest next week will be Father David Wheeler. We'll introduce him and we'll have a conversation, and we sure hope you can join us. It's one more way of welcoming him in these days of the pandemic. So we'll forge ahead. So thank you very much, and good to be with all of you today. Have a great day today, and God bless you all.
All right, everybody, have a great day. See you next week, next Thursday at 10 a.m. right back here.
Thank you, Tim.